Hello and good evening. Welcome to Anupali. I hope you have had a wonderful weekend. We have much to talk about on this edition of Anupali. This past week, we took a number of decisions at the cabinet level that I will tell you about later in the program. On Friday, we officially commissioned the Esprit Murphy Health and Wellness Center in the village of Maho, the first in a number of new health facilities designed to provide improved quality services to the citizens of this country. The health center in Maho is one of 12 facilities, 8 of which are completed. Over the next week or so, we will proceed to officially commission these new facilities. Also in the past week, many of you have availed yourself of the opportunity to take the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. I myself received my first jab on Tuesday with little or no effects, and I thank all of the health professionals who are working diligently to facilitate this process. We can be immensely proud of the work of our health workers and the work that they have done at various levels to manage this health crisis. Dominica continues to excel in the provision of care to those affected by COVID-19, to manage the quarantine process and monitor entry into the island, and now to administer the vaccine to our citizens to further contain the spread and to protect our citizenry. It has been an immense effort that is truly deserving of the praise of all our citizens. So on today's program, I want to delve into the work that has gone on over the past 2 weeks to get our population vaccinated. My guest is the Minister for Health, Wellness and New Health Investments, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre. Dr. Mac, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Welcome again.
It
looks like I may have to give you a prize for the most appearances on Anupali. But we're happy to have you here. How are things though?
Not too bad, Phil. Very good. Very good. Things are good.
Good. Now, we have started the opening of a number of health centers. We had, as I said, the one in Maho on Friday. Where do we go next?
On Monday, that's tomorrow, the 1st of March, we will be in Portsmouth to open the health center in Georgetown. And on Wednesday, that's the 3rd, we'll be in Bellevue to open our new health and wellness center there as well. On Friday, we go to Vaccination to open our new health and wellness center. And on Monday, the following Monday, which is the 8th, we'll be in Wesley. And on the 10th, we'll be in Marigot. So these are the 5 carded for this week coming and next week as well.
Now, we have known these facilities to be called health centers for several decades. Now, the Ministry of Health, the government, is referring to them as health and wellness centers. Why the addition of the word wellness?
Well, in the past, people used to see health as merely just the absence of disease. Mm-hmm. But we're moving away from this. It's also all about preventing disease and not just the absence of disease that you can say you're healthy. So the WHO normally has that health is a state of physical, mental, and social well-being. So we want to capture all of this. That's why we brought in the word wellness. So it's more than just not being sick. It's how you remain healthy and how you put different plans into action to stay healthy. Preventive measures, so to speak. Yeah. And about the person's their whole attitude, how they view health, how they take care of themselves. We put in the health in the hands of the people. So that's where wellness comes in. It's not just you're not sick and you feel you're fine. Even spiritually, socially, how you intermit your emotional intelligence, that's all part of the health aspect of it.
Okay, excellent. So now we have it. We have an explanation as to why we've added the word wellness to health centers, to call them health and wellness centers. Now, Dr. Mark, the ministry clearly seems to be on top of the vaccination process ongoing for the last 2 weeks or so. Can you bring us up to date on how the vaccination program has progressed since His Excellency, the President, took the first jab on February 12, I believe?
Yes. On February 12th, His Excellency and his wife, Mrs. Savre, followed by I did it third, and then our Parliamentary Secretary, Honorable Edwards, followed. And then on, that's when we started. And in all honesty, I think we've done very well. I'm pleased with the turnout of the public, and people have accepted that vaccination is one of the ways for us to get on control of this COVID-19. And I think we've done well. And I think people have accepted it. They have come out. They have bought into the whole idea. They realize the significance of the vaccination program. That's the most important thing. They know why they're doing it. Now that they know why they're doing it, then it's actually much easier for us to roll it out. So in all fairness, I think we've done well.
Well, excellent. Now, if you want to call, you could call numbers 225-3400 or 611-3400. 225-3400 and 611-3400. Now, how many Dominicans, though, have received the vaccines as of this past Friday?
Up to this past Friday, we have 5,924 Dominicans have received the vaccines. So that's close to 6,000. And if you make allowances for the fact that we were not vaccinating on Saturdays and Sundays, and then we had 2 carnival days, Monday and Tuesday, and we had a little slowdown on the Ash Wednesday. So I think we've done pretty well. As a matter of fact, on some days, PM, we were touching 900 and something, 1,000 and something. Another day we had 1,100 and something. Out there, we had 1,200 and something. So we above the thousands per day. Yes.
So you really have only been about 5 or 6 days, really? Then?
Yeah, exactly.
And
then we're close to 6,000. So that's excellent.
So roughly 1,000 a day.
Exactly.
And my understanding is so far you've only been vaccinating people at the major health centers in the district.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the Roosevelt Health Center is part of it as well?
Yes, the Roosevelt Center and all the other. We have 7 health districts. Yeah. It's different from the agricultural and the other parishes. It's 7 health districts, and we're doing the type 3. And so that's, if you look at it for just these 7 type 3 health centers, and we're close to almost 6,000, I think we've done pretty well. Yes.
And my understanding is that we are now going into the village health centers.
That is the plan. From tomorrow, Monday, we'll be getting out into the other type 2 health centers so we can cover as many people as possible.
And for later, we'll give
definitely
the times and the names of the health centers.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the Ministry of Health, based on its advice and its vaccination plan, we're catering first for the vulnerable groups, our elderly and those with chronic illnesses. Have we been able to successfully cater for these categories of vulnerable groups?
Yes. As a matter of fact, initially, as you said, we were doing these vulnerable groups, persons above 65 and all the healthcare workers, the high-risk cases. But we realized we had the capacity to do more. So we went beyond this. So even if we do it vulnerable on a particular day and someone who's not in that category comes in, we would still do it because we had the capacity to do more than that. So we've actually moved beyond the vulnerables and those above 65 and the frontline workers that we're doing everyone at present in all our 7 health districts. Yes.
So what about the reports, though, you're receiving about the efficiency of the process at the various health centers?
Well, sometimes, some people might complain that they waited a little long. But in all fairness, PMD people realize what they're doing it for. They've bought into it and they realize it's for their own good. So the little wait here and there, maybe less waiting maybe than at a bank. Yeah. So people have realized, well, if I have to wait a little 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, it's all for my betterment. It's all for my good, so they can do it. And there haven't been too many complaints from that point of view. And people have realized a little bit of wait, 10, 15 minutes to get a vaccine that can save your life or save your family's life, save your loved one's life. They are pretty much okay with that. That little sacrifice for the greater goal, they are bought into it.
Now, there's a process they go through, as I've been for myself.
Correct.
There's a short education process.
Yes.
Can you take us through the processes so people who want to go next week, they can prepare themselves as well?
Okay, so if someone wants, they can go online and fill out the form. We have a form online as well. And they can print out their form and they can come to the health center with their form, which makes it a little easier and quicker for the nurses at the health center. However, lots of people would just come to the health center and we'd help them to fill out the form. But apart from filling out the form, there's a little counseling session that goes through. We tell you about the vaccine, what's the vaccine all about, why you're taking the vaccine, different side effects of the vaccine, and so forth. And even after you've had the vaccine, then we observe you for another 15 minutes just to make sure that everything is fine. And that's standard protocol. We're doing it for everyone, so we educate you. We vaccinate you and we observe you for 15 minutes even after you had your shot.
Yeah, so clearly, I mean, people are availing themselves, close to 6,000 in a matter of 5 or 6 days. We're pressing on. We're working with all different groups, the unions, the parliamentary reps office, village councils, etc., to mobilize people. Now, based on the people who have, the close to 6,000 who have taken these vaccines, have you received any reports of undue side effects or ill health resulting from taking the vaccine?
Well, like every other vaccine, you get little side effects. And we've had some minor. The minor common ones, maybe somebody might have a little body pain, maybe they might have a little inflammation on their shoulder, maybe you might feel a little joint pain, some have a little chills, some have a little fever. And, but the majority of people haven't had any of the symptoms. But you do get a few with those little symptoms, nothing major, nothing to really talk about and be panicky and concerned about, and nothing that should prevent people from having the vaccine. Nothing significant has happened so far. And if you look at the millions, as a matter of fact, 213 million people have already taken AstraZeneca. And as regards to any serious major side effect, nope, they haven't seen that anywhere internationally. So I think we're pretty much safe with our vaccine, and the side effects are minimal and very mild, so to speak.
So you really only have the pre-vaccine skirmishes like a Cecil Joseph and others, so on the lighter side. Now, many of our citizens, remain uncertain about whether they should take the shot or not. What are the benefits of taking this vaccine?
Yes, PM, that is very important, and I would love the public to recognize, if we were to take the vaccine, for one, we're preventing severe illness, which is very, very important. As a matter of fact, taking the vaccine is 100% in preventing these ICU cases. And as for symptomatic coronavirus, it's almost 76 to 80% in preventing this, which is an excellent reason why we should take a vaccine. Secondly, this is one of the main reasons for cutting down hospital administration. It has cut down hospital admissions. It has cut it down to almost 90-something%. Thirdly, it prevents death. Fourthly, it can give us herd immunity. And the fifth main reason why we're doing all of this, so that we can get back to normalcy. So we have at least 5 different reasons why we should take the vaccine. As I said, it prevents severe illness, it prevents hospital admissions, it prevents death, we can get herd immunity, and we can get back to normalcy. So we have every reason, PM, why we should take the vaccine.
Getting back to normalcy means, we can get the hotels opening again, or rooms filled, cruise ships can come in, people who are benefiting from the cruise ships can go to work, because there's so many people, especially in the Roosevelt Valley, who depend on the calls of the cruise ships here. And the reality is, we're going to see countries asking for a vaccine certificate before you come to the countries. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in the United States, it's going to happen in Caribbean countries, it's going to happen in Europe, because people want to get back to normal, to a normal way of life. And as you say, the scientists are saying that that this is a major tool or ammunition against the fight with COVID-19. And the festivals, for example, the islands that have said no carnival this year in the summer. We had no carnival this year, and we need to get back to these areas. So apart from the health aspect of it, you also have some economic, social, welfare issues that we have to be mindful of as a nation, and that's the reality. Now, you studied in India, and that's where you got your medical degree from. The very same country that has given us a gift of 70,000 doses of the vaccine, and vaccines are very difficult to get by. Even in countries that are producing and manufacturing the vaccines, they cannot supply their domestic population. How confident are you in the efficacy, though, of this particular vaccine, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine?
Well, PMD, the vaccine was developed by Oxford University with AstraZeneca. And it is manufactured in India by the Serum Institute of India, and it's manufactured in South Korea as well. Now, if you have to put this into perspective, the Serum Institute of India is the world's largest vaccine manufacturer, manufacturing about 1.5 billion vaccines per year, followed by GlaxoSmith, which is a UK company, actually followed by Sanofi in France. They produce 1 billion per year. GlaxoSmith in the UK produce 0.69 per year. And the American companies, Merck and Johnson & Johnson, produce 0.2 billion per year. So if you look at Serum, that is the largest vaccine manufacturer in the entire world. And you have to put into perspective that India provides 50% of the global vaccine. So India has been doing that for years, Prime Minister, and they have been providing half of the world the vaccines for decades now. And they have been the one they provided to Brazil, as a matter of 2 million to Brazil, Morocco, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Maldives, and many of the other Southeast Asian countries. And also, the Serum Institute of India is providing 2 million to the COVAX facility, which is the global facility to provide vaccine for other developing countries as well. Yeah. So as to the experience of the Serum Institute of India, that's not questionable, PM. No.
And of course, you indicated how many people have received the Oxford AstraZeneca.
Yes.
For so far?
Yes, millions of people have received, and as to side effects, no, there hasn't been anything significant in the press regarding that at all.
No, there's a question from Facebook, Dr. Mark. It's a question that others have been asking. Why are the nurses not wearing gloves when administering the vaccine?
Okay, it's a question that has come up before, but the truth is, if you look at the WHO guidelines, it is not mandatory that you must wear a glove to give a vaccine, and that's according to WHO. However, if the person has a bleeding disorder, and if there is trauma, and if there's transfer of body fluids, then you consider to use gloves. As a matter of fact, some research have said that gloves might even be responsible for transmitting certain pathogens. So as to whether it's 100% necessary you must have a glove, no, the WHO doesn't put that down as a criteria that you must have a glove. And if people want, they can go on the WHO website, and it's pretty much clear written there that it's not mandatory to have a glove to give a vaccine.
Okay. There's a call on the line. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, PM or Dr. Matt.
Welcome, good evening to you, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, I have a question. My question is, we only received, if I'm not mistaken, some 70 plus vaccines, right? And we have also donated to some of the Caribbean islands. Is there enough vaccine for everybody on the island if everybody would have to turn out for vaccine?
Oh, all right. So, yes, we did receive 70,000 doses, and we did give some to our sister islands, that is Grenada, Antigua, and St. Vincent, 5,000 each, and we also gave St. Lucia and St. Kitts 2,000 each. So that means we were left with 51,000. So we can, with that, we can actually vaccinate 25,000 of our 70,000 people. Now, we are giving those 18 and above. But we also are getting vaccines from the COVAX facility, which I mentioned earlier. That is the global facility to vaccinate all the other developing countries. And we're getting enough to vaccinate 20% of our population. So if you add up the 25,000 people within our population, plus the 20% that will be vaccinating from the COVAX facility. And we also have had discussions with the Chinese for their vaccine, which is the Sinopharm, which will be getting 20,000 doses already. That particular vaccine, it's so far a very good report, and it has gone through phase 2, and it has gone through phase 3, and it is before the WHO to get the emergency use listing. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, yes, we will have enough to vaccinate our population, definitely.
Yeah, and just to inform the caller and of course the viewers, the plane carrying the 20,000 vaccines for Dominica left China earlier today, and we will certainly receive those vaccines this week coming. We've been facilitated by a friendly nation to transport the vaccines. That's the government of Venezuela. I want to thank President Maduro and the government of Venezuela for assisting us with the transportation of the vaccines to Dominica. Now, the question on Facebook again, people are asking, who should not take the vaccines? Under 18, pregnant women?
Okay, so under 18, why under 18 is because this particular vaccine, the trials of the first 1, 2, and 3 trials, not enough data was available for those under 18. So obviously, from a safety point of view, we'll not be giving to anyone under 18. That's the AstraZeneca. But just to mention that the Sinopharm from the Chinese might just be able to, is before the WHO, and might just be able to be given to persons above 3 years of age, which would be excellent for us in that case. But in terms of pregnant women, no, it doesn't mean a pregnant woman cannot have the vaccine. As a matter of fact, if a pregnant woman happens to be a nurse and she happens to be on the front line, she definitely should have that vaccine. Then in terms of lactating mothers, no, if you're breastfeeding, you can still have the vaccine because replication through breast milk for such a vaccine, which is a recombinant vaccine, there's no evidence and data saying that it is contraindicated there. The people who should not take this vaccine are, one, anybody who had an adverse or bad reaction to the first dose, then you don't take the vaccine. Or anybody who's had an allergic reaction to any of the ingredients in the vaccine, you don't take the vaccine, which is precisely why you have to fill out a form before taking the vaccine, and all that is explicitly laid out there for you. So even immunocompromised, even persons with HIV, we're recommending that, yes, you should take the vaccine. All the complications of diabetes and high blood pressure, yes, you should take the vaccine. As a matter of fact, you're the one more prone, so you should take the vaccine.
Yeah. Now, another question from Facebook is the vaccine at risk of expiring?
Very good question. Yes, the vaccine has an expiration date. So that is why we've laid out our vaccination program that will have all of this done before the expiration. So we have that down to a science when we started, when we're going to complete our vaccine. As a matter of fact, our vaccine program, this present one, will end at May month end because our vaccine expires in June. So we have everyone done before May month end. That's the plan. Our second dose will finish before May month end because we know our vaccine expires in early June. So everything will be done before expiration.
Excellent, excellent. Now, the other question, the caller, please, caller. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Welcome.
I have a question for Dr. McIntyre. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Please.
Okay. No, I'm getting a back thing, you know.
Just go ahead. Just go ahead. We're hearing you very clearly.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, so I lived in Dominica half a year. I'm here right now. And the other half I spent in Canada. Now I'm hearing that the AstraZeneca is not effective against the many variants that are out there. So I'm undecided whether I should take my vaccine down here or wait until I go back to Canada.
Well, the truth is, the news recently, Canada is one of the countries that have ordered a large amount of the AstraZeneca.
That's right.
So if you were to go back to Canada, it's very likely that your vaccine will be AstraZeneca, the same one we're using here in Dominica. But at the same time, there might be other vaccines like the Pfizer and the Moderna, etc. So if you intend to get those, they might be available in Canada as well. You can get it there, but I'm almost certain that the vaccine you're going to get in Canada might just be the AstraZeneca that we're using here. As regards to the strains which you mentioned, as a matter of fact, the Sinopharm vaccine, which we might be getting from China, which we are getting from China, as the Prime Minister said, we got 20,000 doses coming in. This one is believed to have a better chance of handling the different strains that you're mentioning, particularly the South African and the Brazilian strain as well. So when we do get these vaccines, if you're concerned about the strains, that might even actually be a better one for you. But we're going to have all of this.
Is a caller, please? Hello? Welcome.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Yeah. Good evening, Chairman and Minister McIntyre.
Good evening.
If you're able to contact this point of the I asked you the question, one of the best of questions, but I'm going to ask the question. Firstly, you just in a season times because of the lack of ability can't get it that helps there. What arrangement are there for the vaccine? Secondly, if we have to study before the president waits for this second shot, they need to study. It's important. How soon after the first shot is advisable that they can receive the second shot?
Okay.
And thirdly, again, it's unvalidable that this means can receive two different vaccines for the shot.
I didn't get them.
Yeah, I think we had a challenge getting it, but I got the second question. I think the second question he asked, how soon can he take the second dose after the first?
Okay, so the research says that within 4 weeks to 12 weeks. And it said that 12 weeks, you get a stronger immune response effect. So what we're doing here, we're going up till 8 weeks. So we're going, rather than 4 months, we're going for 2 months. So that's initially, some countries thought 4 weeks and some said 6 weeks, but we just wanted to get a better immune response, so we're going up till 8 weeks. But someone can go up till 12 weeks as regards to your second shot.
Okay. Caller, please, another call.
Yes, good evening. Full marks and commendation to the Ministry of Health for the tremendous amount of work you've been doing. I think Dominica is far up on the agenda in terms of healthcare. And the COVID vaccine seems to be going on very well. Now, Doctor, one of the things, and I must say I have to thank Dr. Nesty and the team for the good cooperation and assistance. One thing I would like to know is, I would like to have something in place, in place, is when the visitors come to Dominica, that they find out the date of departure so that they can have an appointment done for the PCR. Because I understand you can only do about 35 to 40 in one day. And last week, some British people wanted to go back and they had a difficulty because they were not aware that they had to make an appointment. So I think the ministry should do something in that regard, to find out the date of departure and advise the people at the hotel, and so that they can do the appointment immediately on arrival. And I have to say thanks to Dr. Leslie and the team for, I did some intervention on behalf for the 3 people from England, and they cooperated and assisted us. Thank you very much.
Okay, so granted, I get your point that yes, for departure you need to have PCR done. Now, we have the staff at the health centers. They're trying to roll out the biggest vaccination program we've ever had in this country, which is number 1. And secondly, we have to do the swabbing for PCRs for people living in the country. Our lab can do up till 100 PCRs per day. So it's not really 35 as you mentioned. The capacity at our lab to do PCR is about 100 per day. But I agree that maybe we have to fine-tune in such a way that we can accommodate some of these people. What we've been doing, we've been accommodating, as you just mentioned, these 3 people who had to return to England, and we accommodated them. So it's just a matter of giving us a little call. We understand that people have to travel, they have their confirmation, their tickets, etc. And so we will accommodate. Just let us know, we can accommodate. With this busy vaccine rollout, we are still able to accommodate people to get their PCR. But having said this, we have to remember that this is the time only for essential travel. So people have to put that into their schedule as well. But good point, and we do accommodate people for their PCR, and we can fine-tune it a little better, as you mentioned. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Another caller, please. Caller, welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. PM and Mr. Minister. I was just calling again. I realized that there was some issues with my connection when I was asking the question.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to ask my questions again. The first one was, if a senior citizen have difficulties with their mobility and cannot travel to the health center, what arrangements are being made for those senior citizens to receive the vaccination? And secondly, is it advisable that someone receives 2 different vaccinations in the shot 1 and the shot 2?
Okay, so as regards to the shut-ins and people are homebound, this might be the people who had strokes and they cannot get out. We have a plan in place for that. So the healthcare professionals in every district is getting a list of all of these people. And then we will get out to these people and we will have them vaccinated at their homes. So I do not want you to worry about that. We've considered this and we're working in that direction. It will be done to get into the homes of those who are homebound. They cannot get out, as you said, they're shut in. We will vaccinate all of these people.
But we can also encourage people like himself to go to the respective health centers to register his parent or his family so that they can take note of it as well. That's correct?
Definitely. Yeah. That would actually help, as the PM mentioned. If those of you who know you have those at home who can't get to the health center, help us by coming and register. So we have the list, we have the full list, because we're doing it, but if you can help us so we can have a more complete list and no one gets left out, that would really make our job much easier. And your second question regarding different vaccines is not advisable. So if your first vaccine is AstraZeneca, we'd want you to stick to AstraZeneca. If your first is Pfizer, you stick to Pfizer. If it's Moderna, you stick to Moderna. The data says that it's rather that you stick to one vaccine.
Okay, thank you. Caller, please. Hello?
Hello, good night.
Yes, sir. Welcome, please. Good evening.
All right. Good night, gentlemen. I want to ask a question. When you receive the second vaccine, what do you get? I mean, do you get a certificate? Do you get a card? Do you get something saying that you have received the vaccine?
Yes, you will definitely get a card. After your second vaccine, you'll be given a card. Just like in all other vaccine immunization programs, it's written on your vaccination card, your record. When you do get your second dose, you will be given a card. So do not worry about that. You will be given a card. And most likely, you might have to use that card when you have to travel as well.
Very likely. So. Very likely. Okay, now somebody is asking on WhatsApp, if you're taking chemo, can you take the vaccine?
Yes, if you're taking chemo and you're a cancer patient, we might maybe delay it. If you took your chemo on a particular day, we might maybe delay you for a day or 2. We might not do it on the exact day because of the chemo itself have its little side effects, and we wouldn't want to be giving you a vaccine on the exact day that you had your chemo. And most probably you'll be having your chemo at the hospital, so we wouldn't be coming on the ward to vaccinate you. We'll wait when you get out and we can vaccinate you. But cancer patients can take the vaccine. That's one of the vulnerable groups that should take the vaccine because they're already compromised and they're definitely a group that should take the vaccine.
Excellent. Now the vaccination process continues this week, as we indicated earlier. Can you walk us through the process once again so those who may be inclined to get vaccinated this week are fully informed? And while you're at it, could you also tell us for tomorrow where we will be giving the vaccines?
Right. So we've observed.
One second, Dr. McIntyre.
Sorry.
Let's take a question. The caller there. Caller, please.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening to you. Welcome.
Hi. If someone takes a vaccine overseas, do they have to quarantine when they reach Dominica?
Yeah, that's a very popular question.
Yes.
Okay.
So if someone has completed their 2 doses of vaccine, but there's something, before I answer you, there's something we've observed. Some people have come in with just little pieces of paper, with just 1 or 2 little a signature, and not having a stamp and not being from any official source. So you might have people come in with these sort of fake little pieces of paper, and if it's not from a reputed source, and if it's not stamped and signed from a particular authority, that puts us in a situation. So those of people who have been coming with these, we definitely have to quarantine. But to come back to your question, if you've had the vaccine, we still quarantine you. I'll tell you why. If you've had the vaccine, as I said earlier, it prevents you from getting seriously and severely ill. However, you may still have the virus and you can still transmit it to someone else who is not vaccinated. So if you come in, if you're vaccinated, yes, we will quarantine you for the 5 days and we'll test you after 5 days to make sure that you have no infection and then you can get out into the public. But that brings up 2 points. That is why we still want all the public health and social measures to continue. You have to wear the mask because if you're vaccinated, you might not fall sick. But if you have the virus and you transmit it to someone else, that person can fall sick. Now, the second part of it is, if you've been vaccinated, the replication of the virus might be much less and for a shorter period. So WHO and PAHO are looking to adjust their protocols such that if all of us get vaccinated and we have herd immunity, then the quarantine part can be relaxed and the other protocols can be relaxed. But until we have had this herd immunity, yes, we're going for the quarantine. And we're looking into this. We're following it daily. We're investigating all the data. We're analyzing the data. And if at all it comes to the stage where we can do without the quarantine because we have sufficient vaccination taking place in our country, all well and good, we will relax on the quarantine measures.
So this is why it's so important for us to take a vaccine.
Definitely, definitely.
And the schedule for tomorrow at least?
So tomorrow we continue. We're moving away from the type 3 only. As I mentioned earlier, we were just doing type 3. But we want to get out into the districts and to vaccinate as many people as possible. So we'll get into the type 2 health centers as well. So for Roosevelt Health District, tomorrow we want to do all the construction workers and contractors, the football players, the cricket players, and persons with comorbid conditions besides the general population. But as we get to the district, tomorrow we'll be in La Plaine. We continue in La Plaine. Then tomorrow in Portsmouth, we'll do the general public. We'll also do VECAS, which handles Thibault, Penville, and VECAS.
That's the VECAS Health Center.
Yes, the VECAS Health Center. We'll be at the Granby Health Center where we do the general public. In Marigot, we'll be at Marigot and handles Concord as well. In St. Joseph, we'll do the general public. And in Cassibros, we'll do Salibert and Maho River. So that's for tomorrow. So we're not just at we'll be still at all these 7 type 3 health centers, but in addition to that, we'll be in VECAS tomorrow as well. And we're going to do Cassibros, we go to Salibert and Maho River as well. So these are the other areas. And from Tuesday onward, we'll put it on the radio so you'll know when we're coming to your particular health district. But we won't be doing just the type 3 only. We're getting out into the type 2 health centers as well.
Well, I was in my constituency today, and we'll be certainly going to take the vaccines. Just to say for the folks in Penville and Amba and Thibault, we'll be providing transportation to VECAS. The buses will be available to transport you free of charge. And I met the guys in the block in a place called La Maison in Galba, a popular stop. And so they assured me that they were going to take it. And I know Harrison Paul has a hesitation, but I'm sure tomorrow he will avail himself to take the vaccines, and all of my wonderful people in my constituency we should take it. Quite a number of them went to Portsmouth today.
Very well.
To get vaccinated. So the mere fact that we are coming to VECAS, I'm sure many of them will avail themselves.
And apart from that, I can just give you, but we're going to have a program for each of the 7 health districts. So for instance, in the La Plaine Health District, tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday, we'll do La Plaine. On Wednesday, the 3rd, we'll be in Grand Fort. On Thursday, the 4th, we'll be in Rivière-Styric. And on Friday, the 5th, we come back to La Plaine. And then the following week, we're going to be doing Delis and Boetica and all the other areas. So we're going to cover every little hamlet in every health district.
Excellent, excellent. Now, and that's important, because the more centers we have, I believe, the more people will avail themselves, greater facilitation. So I really want to commend the Ministry of Health for this vaccine rollout. I mean, this is the largest vaccine rollout in our history, and being done in a very tight space of time. So I really want to commend yourself and the Ministry of Health, very committed and dedicated folks who are out there try to get our people vaccinated. And we are fortunate to have vaccines in Dominica. It's been reported that over 130 countries have not received 1 dose of the vaccines. We have about 51,000 doses at our disposal. Next week, God's willing, we'll get about 20,000 to do 10,000 people. These are vaccines coming from China. So we're talking about, we're in a position to vaccinate about 35,000 of our citizens in this period of time. Now, Dr. Mark, for how much longer will the vaccination drive continue? Is it that after May, June, that's it for us, or we're going to be continuing throughout the year?
No, PM. This particular batch of AstraZeneca we're going to complete all of this, that we can vaccinate 25,000 people, and their second dose would be over by the end of May. But since we'll be getting the 20,000 from the Sinopharm, and we're going to get enough from the COVAX to vaccinate 20% of our population. So yes, we'll be going on for the months even in June and July. Right. So it's a program we're on until we can attain herd immunity. So for the rest of the year, those of you who not getting in now, we'll be there for you. But that doesn't mean that we wait for the last minute. It doesn't mean we wait for the last minute. We want everybody to just, the more we can do, the earlier we can do it, is the faster we can get to herd immunity, it's better for us.
Excellent. Any final words, Dr. Mark? Any advice to our listeners where the vaccines are concerned?
In terms
generally?
In terms of the vaccines, I know people have had their personal reservation, some people, not all, about vaccines. But you have to look at it as we've been having vaccination for decades. Our parents, even we had vaccinations. Vaccination is what eradicated smallpox, and vaccination is what eliminated tetanus and eliminated polio. And I can understand your little reservations, a few, a minority. But the truth is we have to trust the science. And we're in a pandemic period, and if that's the way we have to get back to normalcy and have normal economic activity, social activity, and avoid illness, and we can have more productivity, if that's what it calls for, that's what we have to go for. I mean, in terms of, some people have the questions about mRNA vaccines and all of that stuff, and I get your point, but the science, we have to trust the science, and it's been there with us for years. The mRNA vaccine, as a matter of fact, that's what they use for Ebola. It's been there for 2 years, and we haven't had any significant issue with the mRNA vaccine. Although our AstraZeneca is not an mRNA vaccine, it's a viral transport sort of vaccine. So I understand your limitations, I understand your little concerns, but please, let's just do what we have to do, and let's all get vaccinated. Let's encourage each other. This is not a time for us to be pessimistic and skeptical about the whole program. We have to look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is we need to get herd immunity so we can get back to a normal, functional Dominica.
Let's all thank our Minister for Health, Dr. McIntyre, as we are on another front fighting COVID-19. We shall take a 1-minute break and get back to the other segment of tonight's annual party. Thank you very much.
I did not imagine that the prayers of my country would have been answered so swiftly.
Vaccine. Under COVID pressure in we country, mentally, socially, economically. Look, we get a blessing rather quickly to bring us back to some kind of normalcy. Yes, you're over 18. Take the vaccine to protect your family. Take the vaccine to safeguard the elderly. Take the vaccine to bring back with festivals. Take the vaccine. Take the vaccine. Take it. Take the vaccine. Need it. Take the vaccine. Take it. Take the vaccine. Need it. This is a message from Tasha P. and the Health Promotion Unit of the Ministry of Health, Dominica.
Welcome back. And as I mentioned earlier, we took a number of decisions at the Cabinet this week. The Cabinet approved, for example, the appointment of Mr. Samuel Johnson as the Chief Executive Officer of the International Airport Development Company to lead the construction of our international airport. Mr. Johnson comes to the position with a background in supply chain management and marketing, and he is tasked with developing and implementing policies and strategies to move the airport project forward. This is an important project that holds much promise for the economic advancement of our country. And we look forward to Mr. Johnson's leadership as we move full speed ahead with this very, very important project. We can't underestimate the importance of the project. The Cabinet also approved the appointment of Ms. Paula Plasko in the contractual position of General Manager of the Dominica Export-Import Agency, DEXIA, and that appointment will be effective March 1. Ms. Plasko has previously served as accountant and officer in charge at DEXIA, and her training is in management studies. We wish Ms. Plasko success with her responsibilities, which include, among other things, the operations of the agency and the multi-purpose park houses. Please take care of the vendors of the market for me, please. You know, wonderful, hardworking people there. I also extend best wishes to the former general manager, Mr. Gregoire Thomas, as he ends over 20 years of service to the agency and to Dominica. The government and people of Dominica wish you well in your retirement. This past week, we received the troubling news that Dominica has been placed on a list of non-cooperative tax jurisdictions by the European Union. The truth is, I thought the European Union was sending us some vaccines in a gray bag or a gray box, but we were placed on a gray list instead. And you know, people know my views about this. I've consistently spoken out strongly against what I view as a strong arming of small states by institutions and organizations like the European Union. But more than that, we have also been previously taken several measures in our parliament to become compliant. We've been, you know, we went to parliament dozens and dozens of times. Nonetheless, since receiving notice that Dominica has been deemed partially compliant, we have approved the appointment of an OECD Global Forum Working Group comprising of officials of the Ministry of Finance, the Chambers of the Attorney General, and the Ministry of National Security to work on implementation of an action plan and spearhead all other technical matters related to the process of becoming compliant. An action plan has been prepared with the assistance of the Global Forum Secretariat, and that action plan has also been approved by the Cabinet. And in keeping with our commitment to ensure compliance with the European Union Code of Conduct best practices, Dominica is required to make several changes to its legislative and administrative framework, which will align our domestic procedures and practices with what is required by the European Union. Once all of these outstanding matters are addressed, Dominica will be in a position to request a supplementary review of its ratings. And we are very optimistic that we will be delisted following the next meeting of the Council of Ministers of the European Parliament, which is expected to be held in September 2021. This past week, your government approved the implementation of the Enhanced Direct Access EDA fund funded by the Green Climate Fund in the amount of EC $17,143,639. This facility makes available direct access funds, which we can use to enhance local capacity to manage and implement climate resilience projects. The project is being implemented by the Ministry of the Environment. The Global Environment Facility Small Grants Program will serve as a service provider for a grant of EC $2.7 million to go towards community development projects. These funds are intended to build resilience in infrastructure, including community shelters and other community infrastructure. We also intend for these funds to be put to use building structures for the most vulnerable families and individuals in our respective communities. Under this facility, grants shall not exceed EC $135,000 per community project or NGO. Also this week, we granted approval for the Government Housing Loans Board to serve as a service provider for a grant of EC $5.4 million for implementation of a revolving loan fund under the Enhanced Direct EDA project. That project is funded by the Green Climate Fund and is expected to come into effect in the first quarter of this year, 2021. What this means is that small and medium sized businesses and low-income populations in Dominica can access revolving loan facilities with highly concessional loans for homes and small businesses. These concessionary loans shall be provided at a rate of 2% per annum, 2% per annum, 2% per annum, I'm hoping that the commercial banks and the National Corporate Credit Union are hearing this. 2%, you could reduce yours to 4 or 4.5% so that the young people can build more homes in Dominica. There shall be unsecured loans for persons working within the public sector who qualify for funding for the Housing Loans Board. This means that one does not need collateral. And so single loans shall not exceed, no single loan shall exceed rather 200,000 EC dollars. This loan facility is yet another initiative of your government to facilitate Dominican families to build their own resilient homes as a means of empowering our people. Making monies available in these very difficult and trying times. We are continuing to feel the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on our economy. Small businesses have been particularly impacted, and your government has stepped in to support the private sector in various ways. In the past year, we have provided incentives ranging from the waiver of import duties, waiver of the payment of value-added tax on capital imports up to commencement of the operations, and a waiver of the payment of income tax on profits. This week, we went further to approve fiscal incentives for 6 local enterprises. Of these, 1 is involved in garment manufacturing, 2 in the provision of tourism accommodation, 2 in the services sector, and 1 is involved in the construction sector. The combined investments amounts to $4,578,000, which will translate into the creation of 59 new permanent jobs for Dominicans, the retention of 12 existing jobs, and an increase in tourism accommodation by 20 new rooms. Fiscal incentives, I want to remind all of us, are available to both domestic and foreign businesses, and people wishing to apply are advised to contact the Invest Dominica Authority for further information. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a very, very powerful week, a very important week for Dominica. You've heard of the number of decisions the Cabinet has taken. You've heard of the rollout of the vaccines. Close to 6,000 of us have already gotten our first dose of the vaccines. We look forward to this week. I would like to see an 8,000 or 12,000 taking the vaccines this week. Let us go out and take these vaccines for the benefit of our people. And we cannot thank the healthcare workers enough for their continued steadfast commitment. I was saying to some colleagues yesterday and of course last night that out of 193 countries, Dominica is at number 12 with the lowest rates, at number 12 of the lowest rates of COVID-19 cases. But very importantly for us, and we thank God for this, and we thank the service providers, the nurses and the doctors, and all of the people who work in the Ministry of Health. Not one death so far. And we believe, based on advice, that the vaccines can help us maintain that record. No deaths from COVID-19. There are people who said we would have 15,000 cases of coronavirus in Dominica, and then we will have thousands of deaths, but God is good, and God is great, and we have not had that, and will not have that. We intercede with our prayers against this. And let us continue to be safe, do what we have to do for our country. Let us be positive. This is about our people, and we have to continue to work diligently for our people as a government and us as a whole by only working together. This period calls for unity of purpose, unity of commitment, unity of love for our country, and doing what we ought to do as citizens for each other. We all can choose to be positive or negative if we want to be. We all can be constructive or destructive if we want to be. If we want to build, we will build. If we want to destroy, we'll destroy. The question is, each of us must ask ourselves, where do we understand in terms of our commitment and love for our country? We cannot say we love Dominica and every time we speak about our country, it's in a negative. Do we speak about our children in negative all the time? Do you think our children will think we love them if everything we say to them is something negative? Don't you think our children will think that we don't love them? we have to speak positively to our country. There's nothing wrong in criticizing, but the criticism must be constructive. Are the criticisms meant to improve or to destroy? And so, my dear brothers and sisters, this is our nation. Let us go forth and build our country. This country belongs to us. There'll be people outside of this country who will help us, but the bulk of the work is for us to do. And it is not about asking what this country is going to do for us, as the late president always reminded us, but what we can do for our country. And let us not look at the glass half empty, my dear brothers and sisters. It is not showing gratitude to the Lord by looking at the glass half empty. We have to look at the glass half full, and drop by drop, by our diligence, by our commitment, by our love, by our hard work, we can have droplets into this glass and get it to flow to the brim and flow into our saucer. Life has been difficult for the last several months, but we thank God for life, and we thank God for the many opportunities and the resources that is given to us. To get vaccines, we're 130 countries have not seen one dose. And we're calling on those who are manufacturing the vaccines that we cannot be nationalistic with our vaccines. Why should a country like India be so generous to so many nations? And there are other countries with larger capacities or equal capacities who are not able to give one dose of vaccines to the rest of us in this world. This cannot be right. This cannot be right. You cannot wait to give us from what is left. That's not what we were placed in the world to do. We were placed in the world to share what we have, not what is left of what we have. And where's our moral obligation to the rest of us? How do we go to bed as leaders of these nations, knowing that there are countries with no vaccines and we're getting vaccinated? We in Dominica, a small nation, we receive a gift from a nation and we pass on that gift to other nations. And that's what it's supposed to be. I could not go to bed knowing that I have 70,000 doses of vaccines in a storeroom at the hospital, and we have family and friends and brothers and sisters in the region who've always been there with us in our difficult periods, and not share with them. And so we have to adopt that approach in the world. This is not a time about making money on countries. It's a time to protect lives, a time to save lives. It's a time to help countries get back to some level of normalcy so that people can get to work. Children can go back to school. There are still countries in this world where children cannot go to school, and it's not right. We have to continue advocating and to treat these vaccines as a public good and make it available to every citizen of this world. And Dominicans, let me tell you, my dear brothers and sisters, we have this opportunity. Let us not fool around with this thing and all this old talk and this thing about what I hear on Facebook or what I read on Facebook or what somebody tell me. I was by the bus stop and somebody tell me that about the vaccine, boy, and that thing, boy, and I'm taking that, boy, and this and this thing. My brother, go and take your vaccine. Get your little prick and go at your home and rest, and you place yourself in a safer situation. And bring your madam with you, bring your children above 18 with you. If your granny cannot come, tell the health center nurse your granny cannot come, so they can come to give your granny the vaccine. And how safe you would be if every one of us in the home and every one of us in the community would get it. So my dear brothers and sisters in Pennville, in Vegas, in Thibault, we don't have time for this foolish talk. Let us go and take our vaccines and let all of us get vaccinated, and let us declare to the world that the Vegas constituency is the first place in the world that will have achieved herd immunity in the world and so forth. But we're not doing it for anybody, we're doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for ourselves. You understand? And let us go out and get these vaccines. God bless all of you, my dear brothers and sisters. I love you very much. I love this country. And let us work to its prosperity. And let us always look after the less fortunate in this country. And we must never be apologetic for taking care of the less fortunate in this country. We have a moral, ethical, and biblical and Christian duty to look after the less fortunate in this country. And those who are opposed to this, I leave you in the hands of the Lord and so on. I ask the Lord to forgive you because you don't know what you're saying and you know what you're doing. Thank you. God bless you. Look at the glass half full and not half empty. And blessings will come your way at the appointed time. Thank you. Good night.
I did not imagine that the prayers of my country would have been answered so swiftly.
Vaccine. Under COVID pressure in we country, mentally, socially, economically. Look, we get a blessing rather quickly to bring us back to some kind of normalcy. Yes, you over 18, take the vaccine. To protect your family, take the vaccine. To safeguard the elderly, take the vaccine. To bring back with festivals, take the vaccine. Take the vaccine, take the vaccine. Need it, take the vaccine. Take the vaccine. Need it.
This is a message from Tasha P. and the Health Promotion Unit of the Ministry of Health, Dominica.